podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. And by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. Most in-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 428, November 13th, 2019. Valerie and Lance teach us how to moonbounce. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Heil, K9EID, and it's cold here. I'm not wearing this hat because I'm trying to look like something else. It's cold. It was 58 degrees Sunday, and it was like 10 Monday. I think it's 20 today. It's really cold, and it snowed about 3 inches in our front yard. Oh, we are in Illinois, by the way, this week. Anyway, enough of that. Oh, let me do this first. We have some really special things happening. I can tell you that later on, Valerie is coming on with Lance, and they're going to tell us how to moonbounce. And I'm really excited about this. So you want to stick around for that. And George is here. George, how you doing? You got your soldering iron warmed up? You got something happening, don't you?
Well, yeah, Bob, and you need the soldering iron warmed up tonight, as cold as it's been. Wow. Well, you know, a couple of weeks ago, while you and just about everyone else was out, Gordo and Amanda and I were here, and we had a fun time doing some AM broadcast band DXing, and I've just got a couple of things I'm going to mention on follow-ups I had after that segment.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. We'll get our number 2 pencils out and make notes. Gordo, you look great. Does your tie have LEDs on it? Or
no LEDs this time because they could interfere with who knows what.
Yeah,
but George, even Bob Crane of C. Crane called saying, wow, thanks for the boost. He's a good guy, and he makes all those great AM radios with either digital or analog tuning. Leonid's Meteor Shower this weekend, so put on those hard hats and get out there about 3 or 4 in the morning and look up. Bob, back to you.
It comes screaming across St. Louis the other day. Wow. Well,
yeah,
one of the very specials that we have tonight is coming up. But before I do that, real quick, Gordo, tell me what this is. I'm asking you. You might be able to tell me. What is that?
It looks like a ankle warmer. Yeah, ankle warmer. Yeah, ankle warmer.
No. It's a sweater for Gracie.
Oh, the new Gracie. Oh, yes. That's going to be terrific.
When it's raining and snowing, here's her raincoat.
Oh, that is wonderful.
You can tell who got that going. Sarah got those ready to go, so what can I tell you? Oh, boy. And here we are with very special guests, and we're just being so crazy. We're here with a very important thing, and one of the greatest guys on the podcast today is Neil. Neil, how are you doing? It's so nice to have Neil Rapp with us.
Hi, Bob. I'm doing fine. Getting over a little sinus infection here, but doing fine and excited to talk to you about this little announcement we've got coming up.
And who's your friend with you?
We have Jocelyn Bro, KD8VRX, and he's over at the Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting.
You know that all of us here on Ham Nation, we know him better through Chris, his son. Is that right, Jocelyn?
Yeah, better known as Chris's dad.
Yes, I always tell people I'm Jocelyn, a.k.a. Chris's dad, and everybody goes, oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay.
Well, we're going to come back to you. You guys are at VOA And you'd have some incredible stuff to tell us about Yoda, the young of America that are ham radio operators. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But Gordo's got a couple of things he wants to show us. So, Gordo, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Bob. And we had a great visit today with Hope. You know, Hope with all her sisters and brothers and her dad and mom. See them at all the ham fests. Each of these kids have their extra license. And what a joy to see a radio operator with her enthusiasm and her dad's enthusiasm coming down here. Well, they're all excited because it's almost December. And something very special happens in December, although we get a preview of it in 2 days, and that's the Leonid Meteor Shower. But let's take a look and see what's going to happen on the VHF and UHF bands in December. Well, 6 meters. Everybody goes, yeah, 6 meters, that's sort of the elusive band. Ken Neubeck called it the magic band, and now everybody calls it the magic band. And 6 meters is fun because occasionally your radio just sitting there with nothing but background noise begins to pick up activities. But listen on 6 meters as to what happens when a signal comes in and then fades away and then comes in again and then fades away. Take a listen.
WD2QLP, nice signal, you're 5 by 9. Now that the antenna is toward your general direction.
See? I mean, he just faded away, but that's common on the 6 meter band. But this weekend, this is the big weekend. This is going to be the 2 meter contest. The Arrl 10 meter, excuse me, I said 2 meter. I meant to say 10 meter. The Arrl 2019 10 meter contest begins Saturday, 0000 hours Zulu, through Sunday, 23:59 hours Zulu. And 10 meters is going to be hot because we have something happening every December and, of course, every July and August. No, it has nothing to do with tropospheric ducting. It has everything to do with sporadic E. And sporadic E are those clouds that you can't see, but we're going to talk about, that bounce signals on 10 meters and 6 meters and even occasionally 2 meters and higher back to 700 to 800 miles. And we have a peak in the sporadic E occurrence every December. First of all, make sure that whatever you're using for weak signal work, you've got good coax. You cannot judge just by the outside of the coax, the jacket. Take a look on the left. That's a great jacket. And the one in the middle is not so great because it's only about 90% shield. The jacket is fine, but the shield, look at all the holes in it. Look at the right-hand one. That shield is unbelievably leaky. In fact, they used to call this stuff leaky coax, but this was just cheap coax. So always go with the best coax, no matter what kind of antenna you're going to be rolling. And for this weekend, if you have a high-frequency radio that tunes into 28 megs, be thinking about a simple little dipole. And on the 10-meter band, I mean, each side is like 8 feet long. So it's not like you got to string this all over your neighbor's property or up a palm tree. 8 feet on one side, 8 on the other. Get that feed point up nice and high. And, you don't need a $300, $400, although I like them, MFJ SWR analyzer. Superb. MFJ makes a $99 one that covers HF and 6 meters. They also make a 2 meter one as well. And they're like $99. Not quite as fancy as the other ones. No digital readout. But you've hit the right frequency because when you sweep it, you hear it go whoop in the radio. And you take a look at the dial and look and see what your SWR is of that brand new dipole that you build up for this weekend's 10-meter contest. That's a little feed point choke that a good operator would do to keep the RF up there and not coming down the coax. And what we discovered with 10-meter antennas, as well as some of the off-center fed antennas, the 4-to-1 balun that you see here on the off-center fed, or a 1-to-1 balun on 10 meters, keep it away from the metal pole. We found out that when we had strapped that balun pretty close to the metal pole, it detuned the whole gizmochi. So try and space it away as we have here, and know that left wire is not touching the metal pole. It sort of looks like it, but it's not. For 6-meter enthusiasts, if you go back to the old days, Bob remembers this. That's the good old 6-meter halo. That was a very popular antenna for skywaves. And Leo at Kenwood, that's his little setup for the 6-meter band. He's got 2 meters for 40 on the other side. And for those of you that have HF on the car and you say, well, I got a bunch of Hustler antennas, but I don't have one for 6, you do. Just unscrew that top loading coil, and now you've got about a 48-inch mast. It even lays down as well. That will be perfectly resonant or near perfectly resonant on 6. And this weekend and a couple more weeks, we're going to be down with Chip and Janet, K7JA and KL7MF. Sue's in 6GLF. We'll be on the air on both 10 meters and 6 meters at the beach. So for the holiday weekend, Thanksgiving, be thinking of us. Well, lots of excitement up there on the E layer. And the E layer is that layer that is anywhere from 35 to 60 miles up. And the E layer in December, as well as in July and August, many times will be characterized by ionized patches that are created up about 60 miles that reflect radio signals from 10 meters, 6 meters, 2 meters, and a little bit higher than that. And it's not necessarily sunspot dependent, even though we've gone into solar cycle number 25, sort of. We don't plan on sporadic E being based on how the sunspots are doing. And the sporadic E has a very characteristic sound. And some of the signals that we've heard on sporadic E are unbelievable. This is sporadic E, but it's so ionized that it actually glows. It's called an aurora. Listen to the signals off of an aurora. Isn't that strange? It doesn't really sound like CW, but believe it or not, it is. The signals on the E layer that are aimed at the moon, which we're going to talk about shortly, Moonbounce is fantastic. It goes right through the E layer. Here's what Moonbounce sounds like. And Moonbounce is fun. And coming up this weekend, it's the Leonid Meteor Shower. Wow, did you hear that contact? Listen, that was it. If you listen on the 2-meter band during meteor scatter contacts, many times you can even hear a signal come in and out just for a couple seconds, and that's thanks to meteor showers. Well, what's occurring with the E layer, especially in December, is they say wind shear. In fact, anytime there's a major thunderstorm near you, 2 stations aiming their signals on the 6-meter band or the 10-meter band will many times have some great improvements for DX range. And a true E layer skip will be anywhere from 35 to 60 miles up. And if you do your geometry, or let the kids do the geometry, you'll be able to tell that you can work stations up to about 500 to 700 miles away. But occasionally, especially over water, you'll get some E-skip that will sound like this on the 10-meter band. This is the West Coast, hearing both Hawaii via E-skip as well as Japan. Listen carefully.
DN31, you're 59, Bravo Lima 10, roger, roger.
That was a station in Hawaii, and way in the background were stations in Japan just pouring in on the 6-meter and 10-meter bands. Many times the sporadic E cloud, which you cannot see, but you can sure detect it, is going to give you a double hop. And that double hop really occurs big time when the signal comes back down, bounces off of seawater, comes back up, bounces off the second E cloud, and then ultimately comes down at the distant station. The E clouds are about a mile in diameter, and they are slowly moving from east to west, but they sort of move east to southwest. And there are horizontal sheets that are up 50 to 60 miles that will easily take 10-meter signals and bounce them back down anywhere from 600 to 700 miles, and many times they'll come back up again. When the 10-meter band is open, you're going to hear signals coming in, especially down at the bottom of the 10-meter band. And if you listen between 28,200 and 28,300, to the left of the center marker there, you're going to hear a lot of CW, and those are the propagation beacons. So to tell whether or not you may have some excitement this weekend for the contest on 10 meters, simply go to 28,200 and spin the dial up to 28,300. And if you're hearing a lot of signals, as you see here on the scope, you know that the band is open. So for voice, go up to 28,400 and play some spirited CQ calls. The F2 layer and the F1 layer will probably not come into play for another 2 or 3 years because we're at the very bottom of solar cycle 24, coming up on solar cycle 25. So it's that E layer, sporadic E, that's going to give us the excitement. And it usually occurs daybreak to about 10 a.m. local, sometimes in the early afternoon, but just as you're settling down to watch the 5 o'clock news, that's when the E layer again reforms and can bounce signals on 10 meters as well as 6 meters down to other stations. But you can't be sitting around saying, well, I'll get to it in a few minutes. It'll be gone. You've got to do it right as that E cloud is in the area. And if you look all the way to the very left, you'll see a CW type of signature. In the middle of the waterfall is just a huge signal on the 10-meter band. And you'll see going up the dial there's many more, about every 20 kilohertz. So this is exciting on 10 meters because 10 meters, when it skips in, the signal will come in very well. And same thing for WSJ TOPS. You'll find that sporadic E is going to give you some real excitement as well. Oh, this is something you do not want to see on a waterfall. No, those are not hams, perfectly spaced every 20 kilohertz. That's either your dimmer or your LED lights or a washing machine or gosh knows what else. Those are interference bars. So if you see all this, start shutting things off until those red bars disappear. Those are just little birdies that come off of anything that has a pulse width modulation type of circuit. That's noise. Well, when the band opens up on 10, many times the 6-meter band will be open also. You can tell when 6 is about ready to open because 10-meter contacts will get closer and closer up to about 100 miles away. That is real close for a skywave skip via E-skip. And when that occurs, you may find double hop, triple hop on 10, but the 6-meter band may come alive. And when the 6-meter contacts get closer and closer via skywave off the E layer, you might even try 2 meters. Occasionally you'll get a 2-meter hop. So this weekend, you don't have to drive your van out there and deploy a huge 20-foot antenna. This weekend, play radio. And indeed, we encourage all of you to play on the 10-meter band. And 28.2 to 28.3 is where you first want to start tuning the dial, listening for signals. And if you hear a lot of CW between 28.200 and 28.300, even though you might not have mastered the CW at 20 words a minute, this is this is like slow CW. You'll be able to pick it out, hopefully, quickly, identify the number, well, there's a 5, so you know it's probably Texas rolling in, and have fun. Get up to 28,300. 28,400 is pretty much the meeting spot. So either side of 28,400, make a long-spirited CQ. Spirited this weekend, not a CQ10, CQ. No, put some zing into it, and you'll get plenty of calls. So I hope to see all of you this weekend, or at least hear you on the 10-meter band for the ARRL 10-meter contest. Be there or be square. George, what are you doing back over there, George?
Well, Gordo, I'm going to talk a little bit about, our AM adventures here in just a moment. But first, I want to get a message from ICOM, and we'll be right back.
Wish it, wrap it, gift it. Step up your gift-giving game this year and get your favorite ham, the transceiver, at the top of their list. ICOM offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. Make the most of this holiday season with one of these ICOM rigs today. 'Tis the season to give your favorite ham the SDR they really want, the IC7610. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The IC7610 is a direct sampling, software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of a SDR radio. RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. Ham for the holidays. The IC7300 is changing the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. The transceiver at the top of every ham's wish list this holiday season is the IC9700. Keep your competitive contesting edge with faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. ICOM's IC9700 is the pinnacle of perfection. 4.3-inch color touchscreen TFT LCD, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Real-time, high-speed spectrum scope, and waterfall display. SD memory card slot for voice recording and playback. Support for CW, AM, FM, single sideband, RIDI, and D-Star DV and DD modes. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information on all these great ICOM radios.
And you know, ICOM enjoys being ham radio active. And in addition to the various contests that they support, ham radio activities ICOM likes to support include sponsoring the Youngsters on the Air, or YOTA, in December. It's Region 1 and Region 2 of YOTA activation. Work 1 are all of the YOTA stations in Region 1 or 2, and help create excitement about our wonderful hobby. And you can learn more about that at events.ham-yota.com. And Bob will have, he'll have a little more on that event here in just a moment. Something I wanted to mention was a couple of weeks ago, I showed a segment here. Actually, I had a radio hooked up here, an SDR play, and we just looked around the AM broadcast band to see if we could pick up any stations. And we did. We picked up quite a few, and I showed some tips there on the directional patterns and how to kind of discern where different stations were broadcasting their signal at night and who you might actually hear. But I think a lot of people were surprised at how many signals I was picking up on AM. As a matter of fact, when we looked at the display there, every 10 kilohertz, there was a little peak on my display there. And I don't think people were expecting that you would hear that many AM stations at night. Well, actually you do. We were using SDR play there, but I see the same thing when I look at my IC7700. Here's a little bit of what I see on there, it's the same thing. Every 10 kilohertz, there is a signal present there. Those are all stations. Now, that doesn't mean you can understand what's being broadcast on each one, but there's a signal there, and you can see there's only a couple of spots where it really drops out. Otherwise, it's pretty much full for the whole AM band. Of course, the local signals are going to pick up a little higher there. And I think on a lot of radios, you're going to receive something on practically every channel there. You may not be able to hear it and understand what it is, but there is a carrier there. People also wanted to know what I was using for an antenna. Well, I was just using nothing special. It was my 80-meter horizontal loop, just, around 260, 270 feet of wire, just circling the backyard. The trick is, if you're going to use your ham antenna, and the ham antennas work great for AM reception, turn off your tuner. It's not going to work right if you've got your antenna tuner turned on. But there's another antenna I mentioned, and that was this one right here. It's the MFJ 1886 receiving loop. It's good for anywhere, from 0.5 megahertz up to 30 megahertz. So you could use this on the HF bands as well. And it allows you to go directional and choose where you're receiving from. Now, you don't transmit off of this. This is a receiving loop. And there is a preamp built in it as well. But the main thing that's good about using a loop antenna like that is you can turn to null out offending signals. So if you're trying to hear something real weak out there, you could peak it up to where, that signal's coming in the best. But at the same time, you could be nulling out, really strong signals on either side and just taking them out completely. So using, a directional antenna like that can be a big help too. So no, my reception, it was good. I'll say that, but I won't say it's unusual. There are that many carriers on the AM band at night. Some of those frequencies, there's just so many signals you can't pick out any one in particular. But I just wanted to follow up, and for those who were just really couldn't believe what was going on, how much I was receiving. Yeah, I think I was doing pretty typical there. Just I couldn't understand everything that was on all those frequencies. Randy wants to know what you've been building, wrenching, or soldering. Send your photos, no videos, please, to hamprojects@twit.tv, and you could be included in a future segment of Show Us Your Projects here on Ham Nation. And now I'm going to turn it over to Bob because he's got a couple of special guests here that we want to hear more from.
George, that was great, and we appreciate you playing with AM. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. There's a lot of AM stations across the country. Sometimes you don't take time to listen. Of course, we're too busy talking, maybe. Well, I have some really special guests. One of them got his license when he was 5, and he's an amazing person, and I want him to talk a little bit about that. But we've got some special things about Yoda. So let's go out to Indiana and Ohio and talk to Neil Rapp and Jocelyn. Jocelyn, by the way, is Chris's dad, just so you remember Chris. Right? Yeah, that's the way you put that.
We got to get that straight. It's Chris's dad.
That's what I go by. That's my AKA.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. And I'm going to just step out of here because, Neil, you've got this so well prepared. And let's see what all you got cooking at Yoda.
Well, Bob, we've been working on this for quite a while, and Jocelyn knows probably all too well how long we've been working on this. But we've really wanted to bring the youth on the air camp to the Americas over to Region 2, and we've heard all the good things coming out of Region 1. And so we're happy to announce tonight that we do have Youth on the Air Camp coming to the Voice of America Museum near Cincinnati up in Westchester, Ohio. And it's going to take place June 21st through the 26th. So we have a date set. We've got a plan. We've got everything ready to go. So it's going to be there at the museum. There it is. And Jocelyn's in the ham shack right now. We'll talk to him in a little bit. But that's the building that used to be the Voice of America Bethany Relay Station. And so we've got all kinds of grounds there to do all kinds of great things, and all kinds of shopping, and a hotel across the street to stay in, and all kinds of things to do while we're there. But it's really based on the youngsters on the air over in Region 1, and it's a week-long ham radio camp for licensed hams that are 15 to 25 years old. And we want them to come. We want them to learn, of course, but we also want them to make friends and meet some mentors and really get to know each other, so that when they're working on a project, they say, "Hey, wait a minute, so and so's doing that. Let me call and ask him," and try to get a little teamwork going with these younger hams. And one of the things that's a little different about Yoda is that most of the workshops are actually led by young hams. So it's kind of a peer-to-peer kind of thing. The workshops are mostly taught by peers. And we've found that it really works well in Region 1. So we're trying to do that as much as possible. We've got a lot of things going on. The first day will be our opening ceremony and a tour of the museum. You see part of the museum there. Tim Duffy, K3LR, is going to be our opening guest speaker, and I'm sure he's going to have some real enthusiastic things to tell our kids that are going to be there. On the second day, on Monday, we're going to have contesting with people that I'm sure you know. Here's Marty in N1C and Bryant, KG5HVO. They are going to be teaching their peers about contesting and all the strategies that they've used in a variety of things. And then that afternoon, we have some more local talent. We're going to have a kit build with Dr. Jack Purdom, W8TEE. And if that name sounds familiar, he is the author of the Arduino for Amateur Radio book. And Al Peter, AC8GY, they're going to lead our kit build. And they're going to build some direction finding kits that they're actually going to use later in the week. On Tuesday, Ray from ICOM and Will, N9JA and AA4WJ, they're going to present about D-Star. All the campers are going to have a D-Star handheld to use for the week. And then we're going to do a high-altitude balloon launch and some APRS with Audrey, KM4BUN, and her family. They're going to come and do the balloon launch. On Wednesday is going to be something really unique. We're going to Kings Island. And we're going to try to check in on Ham Nation, actually, while we're there. But we're going to have some FM contests while we're at Kings Island. They're going to have handhelds. They're going to go around the park. And at different times throughout the day, we're going to have some contests on VHF Simplex. So they'll have a chance to do some of that. On Thursday, Ruth, KM4LAO, another bright young ham, is going to teach everybody about satellite operation. And then that afternoon, we're going to do some fox oaring, some 80-meter fox hunting and orienteering with Jocelyn. He's leading that up, KD8VRX, and we'll get Chris, KD8YVJ, to help out with that too. And here you see Chris and, I forgot, is it TJ? JJ, out doing some direction finding here. We've got all kinds of grounds. We've got the park there that used to be the antenna farm. And so we've got all kinds of room to do the direction finding hunt. And we've got some surprises planned for that. It's going to be a big event. And Jocelyn's going to head that up. the final day, Friday, we're going to end up with some antenna building with Joe, K7JOE, some more satellite time, and then a closing ceremony. And then we're going to have a special event station. Whiskey 8 Yankee, W8Y, will be at the Museum Shack. And there you see Chris and Patrick working in the youth contesting program from the summer there at the VOA Shack. We're going to have ICOM 7610s. At every station. ICOM has been very generous to take care of all of that for us. We're going to have IC 9700s to do some satellite work. They're going to have ID 51 handhelds. Some guy named Dr. Bob Heil is going to give us some headsets and mics to use. And we've got a few surprises lined up. So that's what they're going to be doing at the camp. So the cost on this is going to be $100 a camper. We're going to have scholarships available if there's financial hardship. You also will have to provide your transportation to and from Cincinnati, but we can try to find some assistance for that. The information packet is still in draft form, but it's up at yodaregion2.org. The address is there. The bottom of your screen, yotaregion2.org. There's a 2-page packet there. Registration will start in February and will go through April. And you can sign up on the website to get some more information. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and, of course, the website. And every day we're going to have a video kind of showing what we did each day, so you can follow along with us. And we just couldn't do it without our committee and sponsors, Jocelyn, KD8VRX, Sam Rose, KC2LRC, and Sterling Mann, N0SSC. They went to Region 1 Yoda Camp and brought back all kinds of ideas and information and support, and we appreciate all of them. And then Mark Beck with N5OT has been helping us out here lately with some fundraising and Ward Silver N0AX. So thanks to them. And then, of course, our sponsors. We can't do it without sponsors. Our equipment is provided by ICOM, Heil Sound, Xtronic, and Arrl Electronics. And our financial sponsors, the YASME Foundation, Worldwide Radio Operators Foundation, Orlando Hamcation, Northern California DX Foundation, Dayton Hamvention, the Huntsville Hamfest, the ARRL Foundation, Southwest Ohio DX Association, and Radio Amateurs of Canada, and Gary West, K8DEV, and DD West, KA8DXE. They are integral at the museum, and they have donated as well. So we need about $5,000 to finish paying for the camp. And so that $5,000 is going to come from individual donors. So we encourage local clubs and hams, if you can help sponsor the camp. We need about $5,000 to finish out the budget for this camp, and we can bump the enrollment up from 20 campers to 30 campers if we can get about 11,000. So right now, we do have a fundraising campaign that we just kicked off about an hour ago on GoFundMe for that. And also donate by PayPal, and the links are there on the website, yodaregion2.org. And by the way, we want to thank ICOM for sponsoring the yodaregion2.org website for our camp. And we also promote a lot of other youth activities. We try to list all of them. But if you go to the donate page there that Victor's showing you, you can donate by PayPal, GoFundMe, or also if you shop on Amazon, you can do the Amazon Smile thing. But EARS is operating the event, so it's going to tell you that your donations go to EARS, but that all 100% of it goes to the Youth on the Air camp. And our hosts are going to be, for this year, the Voice of America Museum and the Westchester Amateur Radio Association. And we're hoping for more camps in more places, and multiple camps, maybe even in future years. So Jocelyn's going to tell you a little bit about the museum and the location.
Yeah, thank you, Dale. First thing, yes, we're very happy to be able to host the first Yoda camp here in Region 2. We're all very excited. As Neil mentioned, we've reached out to other clubs, for their expertise. I know, as mentioned, the Milford Club has Jack Purdom and Al Peters for the kid build, so that's fantastic. Right now, I'm sitting in the VOA shack. This used to be the original control room for Voice of America when it was operational. It was decommissioned back in 1994 and sold to the township in 1997, and then basically was turned into a museum, and it's been a work in progress since then. If some of the people don't know the history of VOA, basically it was commissioned back in 1942 during World War II, as the Germans were spreading their propaganda on the airwaves, and they understood real fast that if you control the media, you control the public. So one of the things that VOA's tasked to do was to combat that propaganda. They looked at should they do the same thing, but it was decided that to earn people trust, we should tell the truth, and therefore we would always have listeners that knew what we were talking, that would understand and kind of give them the both sides of the coin. They could make their own decision. So they wanted to build this. Where do you build it? Well, we were lucky enough that WLW, which Powell Crossley Jr. is about a mile to the east of our current location. So they came in and they already had, I believe it's in mid-30s, and experimented with the 500,000 watt transmitter. So they were commissioned to build 6 200,000 watt transmitters and 24 antennas to point it at Europe, Africa, South America, and a few other places, but mostly cover the globe. And the whole reason was to basically spread what was going on. This was a relay station. There was no microphone in this building. We had the transmitters, and that was a strategic move. If there was to be anybody tried to take hold of the building, they still couldn't transmit out of here. So that's kind of what the history is. There's a lot more to it than that. The kids, when they tour the museum, will get a radio and a history lesson on why this place is here and the significance of it. So if people want to come and stop by, the museum's open on the weekends, and you can find out more on the website. So it's voamuseum.org. And then the club call sign is WC8VOA for the shack.org as well. And you can find out more about that. Now, as Neil said, we've got tons of fun activities planned for the kids. They'll be using the IC7610. They'll be learning about D-Star. I'm looking forward to learning more about D-Star. I've got a D-Star rig and I still have yet to put it on the air. This event, we are planning on making everything as much hands-on as possible to get the kids involved. I compare it to fishing. Nobody wants to see somebody else fish. They want to fish. It's the same thing. You don't want me to see me play radio. You want to play radio. So all of the activities are there for them to experiment and learn and get a fun time doing so. Part of the other thing too will be social events. So we have as Neil mentioned, Kings Island. It's an amusement park and a water park that we'll be doing a contest for and basically enjoying ourselves for a little time. There's a Dave & Buster's plan out. We'll also be trying local foods from Cincinnati. We've got Great Graders ice cream, small batch ice cream everybody loves. La Rosa's Pizza, which is known throughout the city. Skyline Chili, which is a Greek-style chili. So it should be all good. But yeah, and these social events are there for the kids to basically get to hang out and socialize and get to know each other and basically build friendships that hopefully will last a lifetime. We also will be doing field day. This is just before field day. Camp will take place. Anybody that wants to stay to take part in our field day here at the museum is welcome to join us. ICOM is going to be letting us borrow the gear, the 7610, for a few more days so we can take part in field days. So I think everybody is very excited about this. I know I am. And again, thanks to all our sponsors for making this happen. Really couldn't do it without you. Neil, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, and one last thing we want to talk about is Yoda Month. That's in December, and George talked about it a little bit. Bryant, KG5HVO, is our Yoda Month coordinator, and he's been hard at work getting operators and schedules and call signs and everything ready to go. And a group from the Young Amateurs Radio Club, YARC. And we're going to have some special event call signs. There will be more information on our website. We're trying to coordinate with Region 1, and so we need a few more days to get that coordination taken care of. So coming soon, visit the website. We'll have more information about Yoda Month. But Yoda Month is in December. Get on the air and talk to some of these special event stations. So, Bob, back to you.
That is wonderful. You guys are doing such a great job. We'll want to have you come back a couple of times before then.
Absolutely.
Just remind us of what's going on and let us know a little bit about what else is happening, and especially to get everyone to spend a little time and find your site so we can have some donations come in. We do need that, and it's not an awful lot of money. I think we could probably raise that with all of the 770,000 hams. We can make that happen.
Yeah, it's not a cheap outing. So we've been very blessed with all the donations so far and the pledges. But the ham community, you can finish it off.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for all of this, Neil and Jocelyn. We'll talk to you all very, very soon. We'll have you back. So everybody be watching for Youth on the Air. That's what we got to think about, and we talk about it a lot. Now let's do it. Go out and find some of the Yoda guys and gals. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, we're going to have to head down to good old New Orleans way and see if Don's got things cooking. I know he's got a few things happening. So, Don, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, doing great. Trying to stay warm. The central heat and air is out here in the house. It got down to like 26 last night, but we're warming up a little bit. So hopefully we'll get that fixed soon. I've got parts on the way, but that's not why you called. That's not why you called. The Youth on the Air. I am so excited about that. What a great venue, the VOA Museum, and great people behind it with Neil and Jocelyn and everybody else, and everybody, in fact, involved in it. And bringing that to Region 2 is just amazing. So congratulations to everybody involved in that. And Tim Duffy's going to be part of that too, which is cool because, of course, Tim Duffy, world-class contester and also a driving force behind DX Engineering. And they're, of course, great friends of the show. And one of the great things about DX Engineering is that hams are always on the lookout for exciting new products to bring to their customers. The DX Engineering is, anyway. One of the latest is the premier version of the world-famous Alex Loop Walk Ham Portable Small Magnetic Loop Antenna by Alex Grimberg, PY1AHD. A dozen years in development, it's a lightweight, low-profile Alex Loop antenna, an excellent antenna for shortwave listeners and hams with limited space or an HOA. Can quickly be mounted on a window or a balcony because of the stealthy size. It can be brought into the field or on vacation and assembled in less than 2 minutes. It's collapsible for transport in a custom padded carry bag. Special pockets for the antenna parts. It can be tuned in 5 seconds on any frequency between 6.9 and 30 megahertz. No taps or coils for band changing. No whip adjustments are needed to fine-tune, and every Alex Loop antenna is carefully handmade and tested. The premier version of the Alex Loop features maximum power of 10 watts FM and AM, 20 watts PEP on sideband, specially manufactured ultra-low-loss monoblock gold-plated PL259 connectors, 8.5 foot of coaxial cable with BNC connector. It's available with or without the manual, built-in manual tuning box. How well do they work? Well, field tests have yielded Alex Loops more than 800 QRP-DX contacts, including a distance world record. So if you want to get yours, you know where to go. DX Engineering. And they ship faster than anybody else in the industry. Most orders placed by 10 p.m. Eastern are shipped same day with proven products and expert advice. DX Engineering truly helps you shrink the globe. Request your catalog or shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/HamNation. And, of course, we thank DX Engineering for their support of Ham Nation. Good stuff earlier from George talking about some AM broadcast DXing. Of course, the shortwave, too. You can hear us right now on WTWW at 5085. The big, huge blowtorch there in Tennessee. And we're so happy that they're a part of what we do here on Ham Nation. And if you've got something that you would like to let WTWW know, the email address is very easy. Email at WTWW.us. And, of course, go on that website, WTWW.us, and you can make requests right there on the website. It's amazing. I wish that more AM and FM broadcast stations would do that. Heck, I wish they would just take requests, period. A lot of them don't anymore. But WTWW does, and it's all right there. Very cool stuff. Good friends of the show. Let's get the news of the week now from Amateur Radio Newsline. And we've got Dr. T with a small little solar update. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 2193, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, November 13th, 2019. Word from the Philippines about the nation's first nanosatellite in progress, and one important microsatellite marking its first year.
As the Philippines marked the first anniversary of the launch of its Diwata-2 microsatellite, scientists also announced that the nation's first nanosatellite, tentatively named the Birds 2S, will be sent into space sometime next year. At a conference held in late October at the University of the Philippines, researchers announced the CubeSat's progress and looked back as well at the Diwata-2's past year in orbit, since its launch from Japan on October 29, 2018. In addition to collecting satellite images, the Diwata-2 has also served as an important resource for amateur radio operators in Europe, Japan, and the Philippines. A report in the Business Mirror noted that Ham's use of the payload has grown over the past year, and Diwata-2 has been gaining a boost in publicity as well, as Hams post to social media and in various online groups. AMSAT gave the designation of Philippines Oscar 101 to Diwata-2's amateur radio payload earlier this year. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF.
The Military Auxiliary Radio Systems quarterly drill is in progress, and you can take part.
The nationwide communications exercise conducted by the Military Auxiliary Radio System, or MARS, got underway on the 2nd of November and will continue through the 17th. Both the Army and Air Force branches of MARS are involved in the Department of Defense quarterly exercise, which is an interoperability drill using amateur radio frequencies to gather information from local hams. The details include weather details, county status reports, and situational awareness. During the exercise, announcements of interest to hams are being made on WWV at 10 minutes past the hour and WWVH at 10 minutes before. The Department of Defense began using WWV and WWVH during exercises held earlier this year. Amateur radio operators who are interested in COMEX 19-4 can download the free PSK software MS-DMT to decode the military digital mode being used. The software is available on the website dodmars.org. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Kevin Trotman, N5PRE.
Mike Baxter, KA0XTT, and Last Man Standing returns to the living room screen in January with Season 8. Until then, however, how have fans in the U.S. been getting their ham radio fix? They've turned to Netflix in the popular sci-fi horror web series Stranger Things.
For hams, the show's real stars haven't been the teenage characters growing up in the American Midwest, but it's the vintage radios, like the realistic TRC 214 or the Heathkit DX60. Most recently, in an episode called Susie, Do You Copy? There's been a sort of homebrew but very advanced handheld radio created by one of the young characters. The teenager built it and named it Cerebro to talk to a girl he met at summer camp. As that episode winds down, however, he begins to notice that he's copying signals coming from Russia. Not bad DX for a handheld. Just remember, however, that in our own time period of low sunspots, this is less science and a lot more fiction. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Mike Askins, KE5CXP.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. with Jim Meacham, ZL2BHF, Kevin Trotman, N5PRE, Mike Askins, KE5CXP, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
All eyes are on the sun as it's given us some spectacular views over the last couple days. As we switch to our front side sun, you can see the transit of Mercury. Look at it go right there. This is the last time we've got a chance to see this planet transit the sun for more than a decade. So if you didn't catch this view, you're going to have to look at the replay because you won't see it for quite some time. But that's not the only cool thing we've got going on. We also have a coronal hole that's going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone here in the next 4 days or so. And it could send us some more fast wind and possibly bring some aurora down to high latitude, so stay tuned for that. But that's not all. We also have a new cycle 25 sunspot right there in the southern hemisphere. This is the second of these new cycle sunspots we've seen in the past week or so. So we're definitely beginning to ramp up on cycle 25. We're not there yet, but we're getting close. As we switch to our far side sun, you can see this is our partially far-sighted monitor. It's kind of looking at the sun from the side. You can see that active region emerge very, very quickly, and it's fizzling and farting and all that. That's really good news to see activity ramp up this quickly, because that means that solar cycle 25 is nearly here. For more details on this week's space weather, including when and where to see aurora and what that new cycle sunspot means for your day, come check out my channel or see me at spaceweatherwoman.com.
Thanks, Dr. T. Make sure you follow her on Twitter at Tamitha Skov, and also check her out with the spaceweatherwoman.com website. Well worth the trouble and the time and the effort that it takes to follow her, because you get up to the minute, almost up to the second sometimes, information on everything that's going on with space weather and what's going on in the sky and the moon and just all sorts of cool things. So make sure you follow her. Bob, we've got more moon talk coming up with Moonbounce stuff, right?
Big time Moonbounce stuff. You know, things like this. That's early Moonbounce, 1962 that was, and it was crude compared to what they're doing today. But hey, I made a few contacts on the moon, and I was just a young kid doing it. What did I know? But we have some people that really know, and you're going to love what you're about to learn from Valerie. Valerie, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Hope you're doing good. And let's hear a little bit about Moonbounce from you.
Hey, Bob. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm doing good. It's a little cold here, but glad to be back. And I wanted to say hey to Neil. I'm going to be at their club. Sierra Club is having their meeting this Friday night. I'm going to be doing my talk on Puerto Rico. People still want to hear about that two years after the fact. So if you're in that area, Bloomington, Friday night, we're going to be having that presentation. And I did donate $50 via PayPal to the camp, Region 2 camp. So hopefully you guys get out there and help donate so we can get some more kids out there. But yeah, tonight we're going to talk about Moonbounce. I have with us Lance Collister. Now, he currently holds an extra class license, Whiskey 7 Gulf, Japan. He was first licensed back in 1965 at the age of 14. His first contact was in Lancaster, PA on 2 meter AM with a heat kit tour. And from that first contact, he was hooked on VHF DXing, and he soon became active on 2 meter meteor scatter, say that fast, and aurora. He holds a bachelor's degree in both physics and religion, and actually has theses in both as well. And he copied his first 2 meter EME signal in 1974, and then wrote his first moon tracking computer program that same year. And it wasn't until 1978 that he made his first 2 meter EME contact by working Whiskey 6 Papa Oscar. Now he's currently got WAS, worked all states, and DXCC, which is 100 countries or more, on both 2 meter and 6 meter EME. He actually has 161 countries on 6 meter, and he's an avid 6 meter EME de-expeditioner. As a matter of fact, I worked him when he was on Seychelles. So welcome aboard, Lance. You're really, really, I think, the go-to guy here when it comes to Moonbounce. And so we appreciate you coming on tonight. So why don't you kind of tell everybody how 6 meter EME or 2 meter EME, how to?
Well, good evening, Val. You know, when I first got on 6 meters in 1996, I discovered I was pretty much too far away from the geomagnetic equator to do any international ionospheric DXing from western Montana. So I decided my best option was to do like I had done on 2 meters and try to work DX on EME. And so for sending signals to the moon and back on VHF, it's very possible because the signals go right through the ionosphere most of the time. Both stations need to be able to see the moon at the same time, so you've got half of the Earth that you can communicate with. And I think we have
a slide, too, if you want to show one of those slides, Victor. There you go. Go on.
Oh, there it is. That looks great. And it takes 2.5 seconds round trip to go the 500,000 miles at the speed of light. So that's enough time to say hello, moon, and have it come back and say hello, moon, back to you. However, signals on 6 meters are very weak. And since only 7% of what hits the moon bounces back, and the signals on 6 meter EME are almost never detectable by ear. At such low frequencies, the geomagnetic disturbances like aurora can really interfere with things. The signals change polarity as they go through the magnetic field of the Earth, so the polarization can be offset, so you might not hear the signals coming back off the moon until they rotate around in polarity. Ionospheric disturbances like high TEC or E-skip can block the signals going to the moon, especially if you're aimed at the horizon. And if you're aimed at the horizon and you're in an area with tropospheric ducting, they can trap the signals. There is something called the Degradation Index, which determines what day of the month is best to try Moonbounce.
And I think we have a slide for that. There we go.
Yeah, that changes by 2 dB. Those are the best days of the month for EME. It's much more critical on 6 meters because the background sky behind the moon gets very, very noisy when the moon is in front of noisy places in the sky. And 2 dB comes from just the moon moving in and out from the Earth every month. So on 6 meters, you can have 12 or 14 dB difference between a good time of the month and a bad time of the month. So that's why we show what days of the month are best. They're the lowest degradation. And then on top of everything, as I said before, the polarity rotates, called Faraday rotation, as the signals go out through the magnetic field and they come back in. So often the signals are not reciprocal. And especially it's bad for horizon-only stations because they have to look through more ionosphere. And so what?
Well, I'm a horizon only. I'm a horizon only. I don't have one of those. That's Lance's antenna. To the left is his 2 meter and the right the 6 meter, I believe. And but so, I mean, it sounds so hard with the 7% and all the polarity and everything that can go wrong. But why don't you tell them why it's a good idea to go through all this headache to try and do some 6 meter EME?
Well, 6 meters is the hardest of all the VHF or UHF EMA bands. But why is it great to try it? It's because there are so many people that have a kilowatt or at least several hundred watts on 6 meters, and they've got 6 meter antennas, and all the rigs and even more amplifiers now are having 6 meters in them all over the world. And with the declining solar cycle activity here over the next few cycles, they're predicting that there won't be much ionospheric activity. So many more people are getting on 6 meter EME now.
And another one we're doing is because we have a lot of our band slots filled in for you avid DXers out there, and there's nothing to work anymore. Well, I'm sure you need to fill some slots in your 6-meter band, and this is a good way to do it. And you don't have to wait for June and July to do it. You can do this all year round, and with the low solar activity, it's a good way to fill slots as from a DXer standpoint.
Well, and it's not like it was 30 or 40 years ago when the first contact on 6 meters was made. You don't need huge antennas anymore on both ends of the circuit. Now, since 2002, with the WSJT modes invented by Joe Taylor, which are adopted worldwide now in the WSJTX, we've got over 10 times the sensitivity that we had before, which is huge. And most of us can't multiply our antenna times 10, but we can use the digital mode of JT65A, and we can make contacts. So,
and like you said, you just need a simple antenna. If you want to go back one slide, Victor, this is our antenna. This is all we have. We don't have an array and elevation. We can only work on moonrise and moonset, but so most of your average hams, if they have a good 6-meter antenna, can do this, right?
Yes, and I worked you so easily and quickly from my last expedition to the Seychelles. That picture there was when I was in Nauru last year. But I just wanted to say that there are a couple things that are really important for 6-meter EME. One of them is a quiet location, which you definitely have, Val. And the other one is to have a good antenna, which is another thing you have. And another thing is to have good ground gain, especially if you don't have elevation. You're going to take advantage of the reflections off the ground to give you the extra ground gain. A lot of people don't even realize that the location and the placement of the antenna and the ground gain is really what's important with the performance of an antenna. If you have houses all around or irregular terrain or even HF antennas right below your 6-meter antenna, you just won't get the ground gain that you enjoy where you are. So keep the feed line loss low, get as much power as you can, and use a good external preamplifier, and get on JT65A, and we'll work you.
And you have a really good...
This is what my station looked like. This is what my station looked like when I was in the Seychelles last month.
And it's not a lot of equipment there, as you can see. And you have a really good a guide. If you go to his website, I think they have it under your call sign there, the Big Sky. There it is, yeah. And you go to Whiskey, is it Big Sky? What's your website?
Just look up W7GJ on QRZ.com.
There you go. And then you can go into this website here, and you've got everything on a step-by-step guide for JT65 and getting all set up, GJ tracker. You have antenna comparison tables. I mean, so anybody, it's really easy to set up if you use all the tools that Lance has there for you.
And come on to the ON4KST EME chat page during the best days of the month, and you'll find lots of people there interested to run with you.
That's a good way to meet up. I know we use that for the 160. We go in their 160 room. They have a 6-meter room. They have a lot of rooms that you can use to if you want to try and set up some skeds. And so they also have a Moonbounce room. So that's very nice. And then you also have an email group that people can subscribe to as well, right? And they can do that from your page as well.
That's right.
A lot of resources. It starts this Sunday towards probably halfway into Sunday. Monday through Thursday will be the best and ends on Friday, right?
Best days of the month for EME. Get on it and get set up, and I hope to work you from my next expedition next year.
And you guys, I did it so easily. I've got, I worked Japan twice. I worked Lance in Seychelles. I worked Lance at his home QTH. I tried Pitcairn. I heard them and Botswana, but I couldn't work them. And Pitcairn had some noise when we had when we both had the moon in our sights. So, but I did work Liechtenstein too, and so it's pretty easy to do. I really didn't know what I was doing, and it was amazing. After I worked Lance, I got an email from somebody in Japan that heard me, wanted to work me. So the next night I worked him. So try it this Sunday through Friday. And if you do make successful contact, let me and let Lance know. We'd love to hear about it. And I'd love to get you back, Lance, because I know it's hard to fit everything into 10 minutes, and I think we still went over. So hopefully you can come back and we can get into a little bit more in depth in this. But really appreciate you being out there and being a really good spokesman for the whole EME Moonbounce thing. You're very knowledgeable, and appreciate it.
We'd love to get more people involved.
Yes, we do. More people to contact, so that'd be great. And a last few bit of things this weekend, don't forget, is the ARRL sweepstakes sideband. That's going to be going on Saturday afternoon through Sunday night. And then also this December, it's going to be Tower Safety Month here on Ham Nation. So we're going to have Jim Idelson on, and we're going to be talking on the 4th, 11th, and 18th. All 3 weeks on some really good stuff on tower safety. It's a must watch for everybody. Have viewing parties, get your friends, everybody. You're going to want to watch that. So that's all I've got for now. So I'm going to head back to you, Bob.
Well, that was just so wonderful. And I want to continue on. Lance, don't go away, but I want to continue this thing about the tower safety. She's absolutely right. This is going to be something like none of you have ever seen before. We've done a few things on tower safety, but I'm telling you, Jim Idelson is bringing things that you will never believe, and you really need to know. He's done a whole study on it. So he's really narrowed it down to certain aspects of what the problems are, not just tower safety in general. So this is really important. You're going to want to watch this. That's right. And like she said, I think it'd be fun to have some viewing parties and take pictures and let us know what's going on. We'll have to talk about that. I think your club, should have this, at least play this episode at your club when it's, when it's out on YouTube or whatever, or Twit has the reruns. Lance, that was wonderful. I got in the air in 1956, and I never listened below 50 megacycles for 17 years. I was a 6-meter freak, and of course, some 2 meters, as you saw my wonderful antenna in we put it up in 61 through 63. NASA. And I want to notice no climbing gear on that one. Look again. Back at the day. It was a wide white belt. That's what I had. At least I was strapped to the tower. It's hard to see, but it's there. It's there. Believe me. Well, and things were different then. Like the old days, they didn't even have seatbelts in cars. We didn't have all these things.
And it was all CW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get
your little chips.
Let me get Amanda in here. Amanda, I'm sure you're taking all of this in. What an incredible night. But I know you probably have a lot of questions that were posed.
I had questions for everybody, but since Lance was kind enough to stick around, I got a lot of questions, and I know we're short on time, and I have this little project I want to show off too. But Lance, I just want to talk about EMEs and who was the first one to make one of these contacts, and how did they actually know they were bouncing off the moon? I'm so curious. Who thought of doing this?
I don't know. It was some strange ham who was in UHF. I think that the first EME contact, I could be wrong, maybe Bob knows, but was back in the 50s, and it was done on UHF. I think it was 432. I
think Jerry thinks it was military.
Oh, it probably was. It probably was. I know the government was experimenting once to see whether or not, this was before satellites, to see whether or not they could have reliable communications between the United States and like Hawaii by using signals off the moon. Well, the problem is that the moon is only there half a day. So the satellites are a lot better now that they're there.
Well, sure. But if you think about it, when we had enemies halfway across the world, we could pass messages when they couldn't hear them. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
And they did have some pretty big antennas and big power. So when they did make contact off the moon, it was pretty good.
And Lance,
absolutely.
Lance, I had a really incredible experience with NASA. The 7 original astronauts used to come to the restaurant where I played my pipe organ each night, right across the street from McDonnell Douglas, who built the capsules, and they wanted to use my antenna, and they did, and it was incredible for a young teenage kid, let me tell you. And they wanted to check to see if they had all their calculations right, because they didn't have a lot of computers in those days. So it was an amazing story. I won't get into it here, but that's the kind of things we did. I worked one guy from Marissa, Illinois, that's southern Illinois, to Oklahoma, and it was W5KHT, the guy that brought TVRO to us. And it's all about fun and experimenting, so I applaud you in doing all of this. So thanks a lot. We're going to have you back because you got stuff. Go ahead.
Well,
yes,
it's a
thank
lot of
you.
fun.
Lance is awesome, you guys. I think he has more knowledge in his pinky finger than I have in most of my body. I just want to put that out there. All right, I just wanted to show off. Jeff and I have been cleaning out our garage, which has been the same since 4 years ago when we first moved in. So we've been finding a lot of interesting stuff. And I ran into this little project. I think it's called the Mighty Mite. And our friend made this. It's a CW transmitter on 40 meters, and it's 30 milliwatts. I'll give you an up close and personal of it. Anyhow, during the show tonight, I was like, just showing it off is not enough. Let's show everyone that it actually works. And Jeff has been running around here with a soldering iron and finding some parts to make this thing work. So I'm gonna hook this up for everybody. First of all, it takes a 12-volt power supply. Here's for the antenna. Here's for the CW key. So we're going to hook that all up real quick. Please don't judge us on our 40 meter antenna right now. This is it. Yep, there's just some leads here. But as Bob says, if you can put a wire out, use it. So that's what we're doing tonight. Don't judge us. And we hook it into the right one here. Antenna. Let's find the power. And our CW key. CW key, enter. I'm not as good as George at this, you guys. Calm down. All right, and we're plugging in the power here. And now let's see if we have any CW. Can you all hear that? And there you go. It works. We wanted to show that off. We're pretty proud of it. Anyhow, the funny things that you run into in a garage.
That's great.
Sorry about my camera there. Anyhow, fun project. Couple other questions or comments. Really looking forward to December being Tower Safety Month. We have a short month this year, you guys. Unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately, Christmas falls on December 25th, and right after that is New Year's on another Wednesday. So we only have 3 shows this coming December, and Valerie has not responded to the RSVP, but I do believe that right after that, probably the very beginning of the year, we'll be working on our YL show. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can do that first of the year. It's this tower safety thing that kind of took over, but that would be great. I'm going to be on a cruise, though, the 8th through the 7th through the 16th I get back. So as long as it's before or after that, I'm game.
Okay, we got it. And we got Dr. T signed up for that as well.
Ham's gone wild.
Yes, and a lot of guests that we're not going to mention. We would like it all to be a surprise for everybody. But other than that, I had tons of questions for the other hosts this evening. Gordo did a great presentation, and we appreciate that. And I hope to hear everybody on the air during sweepstakes this weekend. It's always such a fun time. Yes, I know it's the most ridiculously long exchange ever, but it's worth it in the end. Isn't it though, Val? Right? It's woo. Get it?
It is long, but it's long for a reason, because when you go and like when we went to Puerto Rico, every log needs to be a golden log. You got to work on making sure you can copy accurately. And that's what this contest is about.
Absolutely. With that, let's go over some nets tonight. We have the 75-meter net on 3905. 40-meter net is a no-go. Kevin unfortunately lost power. He sent me a text message just about 20 minutes ago. D-Star is already active on 14 Charlie, and DMR is probably currently active on 31012. So everyone join in where you can. Check in. All the net controls are awesome, and we can't thank them enough for everything that they do. So with that, thanks to all of our guests tonight. It's been a packed jam show. So Bob, you go ahead and take it away.
Well, thanks to everybody. I knew it was going to be long, but it's important. That's the whole deal. Is it we're really loud. We're having fun, but we're bringing you a lot of information that you really need to know. So it's all done right here every Wednesday on Ham Nation. Thanks to everybody, and especially thanks to Victor for putting up with all of our switching and our photos. You do such a great job. And thanks to Leo Laporte for giving us the time. We'll talk to you next week right back here on Ham Nation. And certainly on the air, that's for sure. So 7-3 for now. Bye-bye till next Wednesday.